Welcome back to Footballology. So it's week 2 of the preseason, and you guys know with all that it comes fantasy football, and so now we're getting into that point or that time of the year where a lot of people are starting to put together their teams. Usually, a lot of the leagues I play in, we wait around week 3 or at least after week 3, so that's why we at least know we're getting healthy starters going into week 1. But before we get into this video and this year's sleepers, I want to talk about last year's sleepers because I got burned, and I hope you guys listen to me to some extent, but not, all the way. I feel completely dumb with some of the stuff I said now. I think I went a little bit over the deep end, and I really tried too hard to be, different, and I kind of got burned on it. I still won, actually, my money league. I won in my money league, and I'm happy because I did throughout the year put together a quality squad, and I try to share some of those guys with you guys, and I really hope you guys listen to some of those guys throughout the year. But just a couple of guys that lame last year that kind of burned me. Moneyball was one. I definitely thought he had an opportunity to start in Denver last year, and he didn't. And now there's like he's in a whole bunch of other trouble and things like that. Uh, and that one just I knew C.J. Anderson wasn't gonna do anything. I just thought Moneyball was gonna do something. Um, Number two was T.J. Yeldon. T.J. wasn't really a burn. Uh, but at the same time, I know that he just couldn't stay healthy and he couldn't stay on the field. Uh, Number three, the biggest one to me personally, and it's because of what I said in my video. If you guys go back and watch my video, Jalen Strong. I said Jalen Strong could potentially have a better year than DeAndre Hopkins, and I truly felt that. I thought Jalen Strong can contribute to the squad a lot more than what he did. I think he had one major fantasy game. I can't think. I want to say the Colts on a Thursday night is what he did, and I started him in that game because for one, I don't know why. I always have the itch to have somebody in a Thursday night game. Don't know why, but I went on ahead and started him, and I think he had 2 Hail Mary passes for touchdowns in that game, and so it was a solid start for me there. Uh, but yeah, what I said about what he was supposed to do over DeAndre Hopkins last year, I look like a complete idiot, and I completely discredited everything that I've ever said at that point, and I feel horrible. Uh, Another guy was Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills really didn't show up last year as much as I thought he was. Kenny Stills was a guy that I thought that had an opportunity to make some plays. Actually, this is after the preseason game too, them playing against Dallas, and he actually made 2 big plays in that, and that's what I expected from Kenny Stills last year to contribute on that level. But I think Rashard Matthews came in and really kind of stirred the pot on that one and kind of messed things up for Stills. And another one was Alfred Morris. Once again, he performed extremely well for Dallas last night. I think Washington just screwed him over. They didn't want to pay him last or this coming into this year, so they decided to not give him the ball, go with a younger guy, and go with somebody that the new regime liked, I guess, a little bit more. But I thought Morris was going to be the better running back in Washington last year. So we got all the bad stuff out of the way. I'm really hoping that you guys listen to me this year. I feel like I have some quality sleepers this year. I promise you. I'm only going to put my rep on the line for the right guy. Like I said, Moneyball and Jalen Strong were 2 guys that I really looked at last year, and I thought had opportunities to do great things for their respective teams, but they didn't. So let's get right into this video. Drop down and shake it, shake. Drop down and shake it, shake. Drop down and shake it, shake. Drop down and shake it. Drop down and shake it, shake. Drop down. I got ASJ, Austin Seferian Jenkins. Now, last year my tight end was Max Williams. I definitely thought he was a young tight end that Baltimore needed to use or utilize more, and they didn't. So ASJ is going to be my tight end this year. I think with ASJ, I think he has an opportunity to start. First of all, I know a lot of people are worried about him losing his starting position, but he's a guy that you can get at the tail end of the draft, like pretty much around 14, 15 is where I've been picking him up in a lot of the mock drafts on ESPN. But he's a guy that I know for a fact, in my opinion, is going to start. I think him and Jameis Winston have some kind of bond or something. You guys seen him last year, the very first game last year, completely went off. I think he had 23 points and then he got hurt, and then at that point he was just obviously he couldn't get back to get right. I like him this year. I think that he's going to start eventually. I think he's going to start week 1, to be honest. And so you can pick him up for next to nothing. You don't have to go and reach for a Rob Gronkowski in the first round, or a lot of other good tight ends are going late as well, like a Travis Kelce or Kobe Fleener. A lot of people are liking right now. But I think that definitely you can go out and get AJ at the tail end of your draft and still get a starting quality tight end. Next, we have Anquan Boldin. In my personal opinion, I think Anquan Boldin is due for a quality season. I know he's up there in age and things like that, but I think he's due for a quality season. By him going to Detroit, I think gave him a strong opportunity to have that season and to get that opportunity to be a quality starter for the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to play him in the slot. They're going to let Golden Tate and Marvin Jones work the outside, and I think that's going to set Anquan up for a lot of receptions. So PPR people definitely look into trying to get him. And then what it does is, once again, you can get him extremely late at the tail end of your draft and not have to worry about getting a star receiver at the beginning of your draft. I think the way I've been doing it is, if I can get 2 star receivers at the beginning of my draft, or two solid starters at the beginning of my draft, getting Anquan Boldin late as a sleeper or as depth, it's definitely legit. And I think that with him, it's a low risk, high reward kind of type situation, because he is in a system for once. I think they're very pass happy. And the last time he was in a pass happy system, he did have a quality season, and that was with the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think he had that great of a seasons when he was in Baltimore, and definitely didn't have those great of a seasons when he was in San Fran. So I definitely like him in Detroit, and I think he's going to pick up a lot of receptions. He might graze 1,000 yards and around 6 or 7 touchdowns. Next on my list, I have Eric Ebron. Another Detroit guy. I have a lot of Detroit guys this year. I think they're going to do really well. Matt Jones being one real quick, and Zach Zenner. I think by week 4 or week 5 is a guy that you can also look at trying to pick up. But Ebron is a tight end that I definitely like. And the reason why I like him, once again, he's in a pass-happy system. We know Matthew Stafford's going to throw for 5,200 yards a season because that's just what he does. And I think Ebron can be on the tail end of those receptions. Now, granted, they have a lot of receiving threats there. So what Ebron's value comes from, in my personal opinion, is he gives them that red zone threat. Because now without Calvin Johnson, you really don't have that true red zone threat. I know they have Joseph Fourier there as well that can use in the red zone. So a lot of 2 tight end sets there. And out of Drake Bell, they don't have that red zone rusher either. So I think that Eric Ebron's a guy that's due for some quality red zone targets, and definitely can be, once again, a late pick. You don't have to reach for a tight end if you don't feel comfortable taking some of those guys at the top end. I mean, a lot of quality tight ends are going at the tail end of these mock drafts. And so Eric Ebron, I think, has an opportunity, especially for a while there. I was kind of scared away from him because he had the injury, but they said everything should be okay. And hopefully he's starting by week 1. And if he is, I think he is due for a solid season. Like I said, a lot of quality red zone targets. I'm not going to see the yards, but the red zone targets is what I'm really looking at for him. Next on my list, we have Kyle Rudolph. Rudolph, once again, I'm liking my tight ends this year. And the reason why is red zone targets. But I like Rudolph a lot more. I am going to go out on the line, and I'm going to give him my Footballology seal of approval. Guaranteed need to be a starter in your lineup. Kyle Rudolph is due for the season. And the reason why, Teddy B is about to come on, and Teddy B is about to look really well. They have Stephon Diggs on the outside with Laquan Treadwell they just drafted. So this gives Rudolph his strong opportunity to work the middle. We know they have one of the best rushing attacks until proven otherwise in the NFL. And the number one reason why I'm starting Rudolph this year is because of Norv Turner. Norv Turner had great success when he was in San Diego with Antonio Gates, and I think that he's going to try to get back to doing some of those things. Taking shots down the field off the play action, running the ball extremely well with a good running back, and also getting his tight end involved as much as possible. Rudolph is due for a quality and big season, and I definitely give him the Footballology seal of approval. And if you don't believe me, you're going to pay for it come tail end of the year, because I think that's when he's definitely going to start coming on as much and more. He's going to start coming on even more. Next, we have Melvin Gordon. Last year, he didn't do much of anything, so a lot of people, in my personal opinion, are starting to shy away from him. They're starting to put other guys ahead of him and things like this. And I like Melvin Gordon. And I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and I'm being completely honest with you guys. I like Melvin Gordon this year. I think he's going to do something. And the reason for that, the reason why is because, for one, Phillip Rivers is getting up there in age. Their offensive line can't protect him as well as they once could. Also, the threats and the targets on the outside, I like Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's going to do what he does, and hopefully he can stay healthy this year. I had him in a PPR league, and he was completely murdering it by himself. And I hope he can stay healthy this year. They have Travis Benjamin, a guy that can take the top off the defense, and that's going to put those safeties at a further. It's going to put the safeties further back into the defense, and that's what you want. So now that clears up the box for Melvin Gordon to come out and do work. He's looked good so far in one of his preseason games, and so I'm hoping he can keep going with that. And if he can, I think that he's definitely due for a solid season. We're going to say about 1,000 to 1,100 yards and anywhere from 5 to maybe 10 touchdowns. And the 10 part is if he's really on fire. But I think they're going to try to keep the ball out of the air as much as possible. Keep Phillip Rivers upright as much as possible as well. And the best way to do that is give it to your young back and let him do work. I think he's due. I got the opportunity. I never got to meet him, but I got the opportunity to see this guy in person. He looks huge. Like he's short in stature, but he's a big guy. And I think he's poised. I think he's ready for a good season. And I think he felt like he let San Diego down last year. And like these are all the things I take into consideration. And I think he's going to come out and he's going to do really well for them. So once again, a guy you can get to tail end of your draft. For a lot of people that are taking the Odell Beckhams and the Antonio Browns and Julio Jones is at the top of the draft, here's a running back for you guys to get in the middle part of your draft. So you can still have a running back that's going to get the starting nod and has an opportunity to get touched. Next on my list, I have Tevin Coleman. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, are you kidding me? Devontae Freeman's there. He led the league in fantasy and blah, blah, blah. Hooply hoopla. I'm telling you guys right now, I am giving him the super fantasy sleeper seal of approval. And the reason why he's a super sleeper is because no one's going to touch him. Everyone's kind of shying away from him. Unless you drafted Devontae Freeman at the beginning of the draft and you're going to go and you're going to lock him up as your handcuff. That's the only way I see Tevin Coleman going. Get Tevin Coleman if you have an opportunity to, especially to all my guys, second wide receivers at the top of the draft. Get Tevin Coleman if you can. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I think when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, Dan Quinn and the Atlanta Falcons organization want Tevin Coleman to be the guy. They like Freeman and they like what he did last year. They have no choice but to go with him because he's the hot hand right now. But at the end of the day, I can almost promise you they like Coleman a lot better. With that being said, I think Coleman has an opportunity to get some touches. Once again, he would be one of those guys you kind of just get a feel for every week. He wouldn't be a guaranteed, solid, sealed in. You don't have to worry about setting your roster with him come Saturday night or whatever. He's a guy that you definitely are just going to have on your roster. Flip him in on bye weeks and things like that. If you see him starting to get hot and you see them starting to lean on him a little bit more, you start pinning him in your lineup. And hopefully you can start pinning him in your lineup with confidence anywhere around week 8 and up. Next, we have Tyler Boyd. Now, Tyler Boyd is the guy that I think you really want to have as far as if you need wide receiver depth. And if you are like me and you're going traditional, I'm taking Le'Veon at the top of the draft. I'm getting Eddie Lacy and I'm getting Matt Forte. Those are 3 running backs that I've tried my best to get on my team every time. If I can, I switch out Bell for David Johnson. You guys know how much I love David Johnson. I think the dude's a beast. I'm so mad and I'm so angry right now that everyone is on David Johnson's bandwagon. And I'm like, I was on this thing from day one. I was saying David Johnson's a quality running back. And now everyone's on his bandwagon. And it's so frustrating. It is. But David Johnson, Eddie Lacy, Matt Forte, and Le'Veon Bell, 4 running backs I'm really trying to get as much as possible. If all goes well, I can get Bell and Johnson, and you just can't tell me nothing at that point. Anyway, sorry, got off track there. But Tyler Boyd, I definitely feel like is a guy that you're going to want to have this year on your roster. And I think he has an opportunity to catch a lot of balls. I know Brandon LaFell was there in Cincy, but now he had a hand situation, if I remember correctly, like a ligament or something in his hand. And Boyd he's looked really nice this far in preseason. I think he's going to keep making that move into that next category or into the starting role. And he's going to give them an opportunity to have a solid number 2 next to AJ Green because that's what they're wanting. I mean, you lose Marvin Jones and you lose Mohamed Sanu. So that number 2 spot is completely wide open. And even if he was to drop down to 3, you know that since he still passes the ball enough for him to get his touches, I think that between him and Sterling Shepard are 2 rookies that you really want to look at. I'm trying to get Shepard, but I think more and more people are going with Shepard now. And it kind of sucks because I was like, I can sneak him in through the back door. Now I got to lean on Tyler Boyd. And once again, a guy that's going at the tail end of your draft. And like I said, if you're like me and you're getting your running backs early, he's a guy that you definitely want to keep your eye out on. Next, we have Vance Mcdonald. He's the last one on my list, and I really like what he's going to bring to the table this year. We've seen Blaine Gabbert and him kind of hook up a couple of times. In my personal opinion, in San Fran, they don't have any outside threats. It's going to be relied on the running game and the passing game down the middle of the field with Vance McDonald and Selleck and some of those other tight ends that they have there. But I really like Vance McDonald as far as a sleeper goes. Once again, you can get him extremely dead late in your draft, or you can not draft him at all, and then just kind of keep an eye on him, if you will, and see what he's doing. And if you feel like you have a roster spot for him, pick him up, put him on your roster. I think he's definitely going to be a guy you're going to want, especially if Blaine Gabbert becomes a starter there. I think they have a nice little chemistry thing going on there, and they're going to look really good together. And I think he's going to become his primary target. And if that's the case, Vance McDonald is due for a solid season, and he can be solid for your fantasy. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Those are some of the sleepers I have for 2016. Those are all my sleepers. If I went down to all my sleepers, or some guys that I'm looking at this year, we would have been here for quite some time. I think that most of these guys are going to do extremely well. I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic as last year's sleeper list was, because last year's sleeper list was horrible, and I felt horrible as the season progressed, and I'm like, these guys are doing absolutely nothing. I was banking on Alfred Morris. I was like, all right, maybe this week, and I missed both of his hot weeks. I think he had 2 or 3 hot weeks, and I missed both of them, or all of them, and it was just like, are you kidding me? Seriously? Real quick, I wanted to share it with you guys. I did say I won the championship. So my championship roster was Ryan Tannehill, David Johnson. I had Jarvis Landry. I had Greg Olsen, Blair Walsh, Bilal Powell, Jordan Matthews. Now, the way we did it in our league, we basically had one position, one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, and one tight end, and 3 flex spots. And then obviously your defense. I think I had Chiefs defense. Got to have Chiefs defense every year. If I don't get anything else, I want Chiefs defense. And but we had those guys, and those guys, I had those guys, and those guys did me really well. Especially you guys know about David Johnson and what he did down the stretch. Tannehill was solid enough at the at the quarterback position. Greg Olsen, in my personal opinion, was a solid tight end. And if I can get him this year, I would. But I think he's too rich for my blood and where I want to go in the draft this year. And to a lot of my footballologists out there, listen to what I'm about to tell you guys. Do not jump on this wide receiver early train. Just don't do it. Listen to me. If you can and you're in your draft, get your running backs as soon as you possibly can. If AP is staring at you in the face, if AP, Odell Beckham, and Antonio Brown are staring at your face, clearly you have the number 1 overall pick. Take AP. I personally would even take Le'Veon Bell there. And I know this sounds a lot of crazy and a lot of people. Stop taking these receivers at the top of the draft. I like these receivers. Don't get me wrong. Odell and Antonio Brown, D-Hop, and Julio, they're all solid receivers, and they're extremely good, solid starters. Stop taking them at the top of the draft, because you can get, listen to what I'm about to tell you guys. You can get, let's say, for instance, David Johnson at the 4th overall pick, right? And by the time the thing comes back around to you in the 2nd round, you should be able to stare at Calvin Benjamin, Jarvis Landry, Jeremy Maclin, maybe Mike Evans. I'm not sure on Eric Decker, but Eric Decker might end up staring at you in the face even. So these are some of the receivers that you can start and pick up and can start week 1. But I'm still not taking a receiver in the 2nd round. Like I said, I'm getting my running backs early and often. A lot of my mock drafts, I'm gonna show you guys a picture real quick. And I guess it's 3 quick pictures of my roster and what it's going to look like on one of my teams that I just drafted recently. And I'm going to get my running backs, and that's what it is. I need my running backs. I'm trying to get Lacey, Bell, Johnson, or Forte, like I said. And those are guys that I'm really going to stick to. If I can get those guys, I feel like I've had a solid draft. I can fill in my receivers core with a Jarvis Landry, especially PPR. Jarvis Landry, Jeremy Maclin. And then, like some of these receivers I named in this, Anquan Boldin, Tyler Boyd. There's other receivers you can get out there. Like I said, I like the guys that are going at the top, but it's not worth it when you come to 7, 6, or when you come to the 6th and 7th round, and all you got staring at you as receivers, and you're not trusting any of the running backs that are there. So, that's all I have for you guys this week. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, though. And if you're not a footballologist yet, go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Become a footballologist today. And stay safe, football fans.